All right, so we're just gonna lay it all out here right up front, right in the beginning. I've been here over 10 years. I know a lot of people. I've met a lot of people. And I would say, without question, very confidently, that 86% to 89% of all the people that I know have been robbed, including me. That's just the truth. Okay, so since there's a lot of people I know that have been robbed, what does that look like? How is safety here in Mexico? Well, that is such a good question. All right, so here it is. Here's the burning question that everybody wants to know. Is it safe in Mexico? Well, I'm going to tell you the real truth, and I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear or what other people are saying. I'm going to give you the truth because I've lived here over 10 years, and we're not going to sugarcoat it here. Let's go. Welcome to Mexico. I am Rita. I am so glad that you guys are here again. I am so glad to be back with you guys. Today I want to talk about safety in Mexico. What does that look like? What is the real truth? I've heard and watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and some are really good and some are very bad. And I think that probably most people would agree with that. I think I'm confident to say that. There's a lot of good information out there and there's a lot of misinformation out there. I am not discouraging anybody from moving to Mexico. In fact, I think that it's wonderful. I think it's great. What I am encouraging you to do is to do your research. Make sure that you do not just focus on one person on YouTube that is living this dreamy life at the beach where there's no danger or no safety issues, because that is not the real truth. Maybe it is in their area, and I understand that, and I would say, okay, I get it. But in the majority of the rest of the country, it is not that way. And so this is not just for me as a foreigner, this is for the locals also. So in Mexico, we have, some beautiful places here. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful places here in this country. There are a lot of tourist areas, which we know, and in those tourist areas, that is where a lot of foreigners are living and starting their lives. But I will say that a big percentage of them moved to Mexico, and then years later, usually within 5 years, they're back. They move back because it's just not for them. And most of the videos that that I have seen have been foreigners that live in those tourist expat areas. Not all of them, but a big majority of them. And so I would say that their opinion is going to be from where obviously they are living. Where I live, it's probably a little bit more dangerous. And I would say that the percentage of robberies, abductions, corruption is going to be a whole lot higher here, I would say, just because of the population, because there's so many people that live here. And so it is going to be different, but it is very, very wise to do your research and realize that it's not just here that we have problems. It's going to be everywhere. All right, so let's start here. People ask me all the time, well, do you feel safe in Mexico? My answer is yes, I do feel safe, but there are times where I do get scared. And I think that's probably normal. Normal as a foreigner, and normal just as a local, a national, somebody that lives here. Because there's facts, that there's robberies, there's abductions, there's corruption, there's all kinds of stuff that is going on. It's very active, it's very real, and many times some people won't see it, but the majority of people are going to see it, and at some point in their life, they're probably going to be involved in it some way. Whether it be robbing somebody that they know that's been robbed or kidnapped or something. It's just the way that it is here. And so here, where we live in Estado de Mexico, there's so many people. And so a big majority of the people take transportation, the transporte, which is going to be combis, which are kind of little like vans, and they fill up with people to take them from point A to point B, and those are always full. We've also got the buses, Mexibus, we've got taxis. So a lot of people are using public transportation, and this is where a big majority of people will get robbed. And so you say, well, what do you mean? Like how do people get robbed? Well, what happens is, most of these people that's what they do, that's what they do for a living. And so what they will do is wait until these combis are pretty full, and then when the combi stops at a certain point to pick up people, these people will get in, and they'll usually sit there for a minute, act like normal people, and then once that combi starts taking off, there you go, they come out, with their guns, and they start taking phones, purses, money, whatever they can. This is common here. And so I hear it said all the time how Mexico is so safe and all this stuff, but there's a reality here. And what I want you guys to understand and do your own research, don't take my word for it, do your own research, is that there is a reality here. I would say probably 90% of the people that I know have had their phones stolen. Whether that be on public transportation or just simply walking down the street. So for example, like if I am on the street and if I have my phone like this and I'm sending a message or whatever, somebody can just swipe it, just come up out of nowhere. And they come up out of nowhere. They know what they're doing. And they'll just swipe it and they're gone. Like they're gone in a flash, right? So they're there and they're not there anymore. And so it's just a loss. It's a lost cause, right? And it's just common. And so I would say, yeah, probably 90% of the people I know have been robbed, at least their phones. My phone has been robbed. My husband's, my daughter's, my son's, and we could just keep going, right? So it is very, very common for you to get your phone robbed. And that, and I wouldn't just say that to where I'm from. I would say that is the majority of people here. Now, let's talk about location, because, common sense will tell you, don't go into places you shouldn't be in. You shouldn't be at, right? We all know that. We're kind of all taught that as kids. Don't go where you know that you shouldn't be going. And that's just common sense. So there's places you go and there's places you don't go. There's places you don't want to go and I'm not going to go, because if you go there that you're walking into something that you do not want to be walking into, right? So my advice is don't go there. I would say probably are pretty boring people. So we don't drink any of that. And we're not out late at night. We are not in bars, or we don't drink or any of that. And so a big majority of problems will happen when you're in places that you shouldn't be in, or if you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. And that just doesn't apply to Mexico. That applies to everywhere in the world, right? Common sense. Use common sense. If you're a foreigner coming here, don't be flashy. Don't be pulling out your money out of your purse or your wallet. Don't do that. You are setting yourself up to be robbed. And they will rob you. They will wait for you and they will rob you. And so you don't do that. You have to be humble. And I talked about this in my other video, be humble. Being humble will get you very far. You want to make sure that you are not flashy, Be careful what you're wearing. Be careful how you're portraying yourself. What are you doing, right? So Those are all things that they're just common sense. I am not going to talk about how I got robbed today because I have to talk to my mama first because I know she's watching this. So I probably need to tell her before I tell everybody else. But we have been robbed. It was very bad, and it was years ago. And so these are facts. We were robbed on the highway, and that is very, very common here in Mexico. But I'll get into that in another video. I go talk to my mama first, so I don't make her upset. But it is very common here. I'm urging people, because there's so many people that are moving here. I'm urging you to do your research. That's what I'm urging you to do, right? If there is somebody that could say, tell you, hey, Mexico is great. In Mexico, I love living here. I don't plan on returning, but here are the facts. And make sure you do your homework before you move here, because so you're not surprised, and so you're not kicking yourself in the butt later saying, well, why didn't I know? Or they didn't tell me it was going to be like this. They told me it was going to be so dreamy and perfect and laying on hammocks all day. It's not going to be that way. Let me tell you that it is not that way. And so it's just important to know what you're getting yourself into. All right, let's talk about car robberies. Car robberies are they're just very, very common here. A car will, let's say that you are pulling out of your driveway and all of a sudden there's a car that pulls up to you with 4 guys in it, and they're gonna rob your car, and you don't really have any choice. And so you just got to give them your car. That's why it's important to have your insurance and all your papers in order so you can get that covered, because if not, it's going to be a lost cause. Finding your car after it's been stolen here is going to be very, very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's going to be slim chances to none, because your car is probably already way off being taken apart, and so that's just the truth here. You want to make sure that you're always aware of your surroundings, always, no matter where you go, whether it's if you're pulling out of your house, whether you're at a store, walking on the street, getting into your whatever it is. Always make sure that you are aware of your surroundings. You don't want to live in fear. That is not what this is about. Don't live in fear. Nobody wants to live in fear. But you have to be smart. I think one of the greatest things that I have seen here in Mexico is that the people unite together. So the citizens here, they unite together, and they're just tired of being robbed. They're just tired of it. People here work so hard, and they work hard. Many times from early morning till late at night. They leave early in the morning and arrive late at night. And I know that applies to everywhere in the world. But here it's just different. And people work so hard for their money, and to be robbed is it's a tragedy. It really is. It's just horrible. And so people are starting to unite together, and they're starting to take justice in their own hands. What does that look like? Well, many neighborhoods are coming together. Many neighborhoods are making their streets private. Many neighborhoods are putting lonas up, which are like I can't even remember the word in English. Signs saying if you enter in here, you're not going to come out alive. And so don't come. If you come, we're already telling you what's going to happen. That is normal here. That's common here. And they'll, on that lona, on that sign, they will have pictures of what has happened to people that have entered into their areas trying to rob. and it is very ugly. And so the neighbors are uniting. They're uniting and they're coming together and they're doing what they can to protect themselves, their family, their homes, their belongings, what they've worked so hard for. Many times you just have to take things into your own hands here, because you just really can't. It's difficult to depend on others to do that for you, and I think that the Mexican people know that, and I think that I could probably confidently say that. It's just, that's just the way that it is. But the neighbors do come together. They come together, they unite, and they will have each other's backs no matter what. So the question has always been asked, do you feel safe? Well, I do feel safe. But I also, I am a firm believer in God, and I pray daily that God will, put his arms around all of us and protect us. So if you are thinking about moving to Mexico, let me just tell you, do your research. That's all my advice is do your research. Watch as many YouTube videos as you can of people that live here. Not just one, not just two, but many, because one person's opinion is not the reality of another person's life that lives here. And so, can you go through your entire life and with no problems? Maybe, but the reality for the majority of people is not that way. And so just be aware, do your research, and when you come to Mexico, you will just have all your information, all the data up here that you need to know in order to be aware of your surroundings, very, very with your eyes open, and just enjoy your time here. Also, I do want to add something real quick. Quiero decir algo muy importante. Sí, yo puedo hablar en español. No se preocupe, porque recibí unos mensajes diciendo, pues si vives en México, tienes que hablar en español. Estoy completamente de acuerdo. Yo entiendo. Yo puedo hablar en español, no perfectamente, pero sí, yo puedo hablar. Pero es muy importante entender que mis videos, yo quiero hablar con la gente de los Estados Unidos, Canadá, lugares así. Entonces, es por eso que estoy hablando en inglés. Tal vez en el futuro yo puedo hacer unos videos en español. Muchas gracias por ver este video y nos vemos pronto.